Hi guys, this is probably one of the most shocking admissions you'll ever hear from a Tory minister. Here, Hugh Merriman, the current Transport Minister, was appearing before the Transport Committee on Wednesday to answer questions. Now, when it comes to the rail strikes and pretty much any industrial action taking place at the moment, the official government response is that wages can't go up for a number of reasons. Inflation is cited as one, and lack of money is cited as another. But Hugh here lets the cat out of the bag by admitting that the bailing out of the rail companies has been more expensive than just paying the staff more. That might sound like a mistake, but Hugh explains the real reason behind it. Have a listen.
The 700 million figure of the cost to the economy you just gave us, Hugh, was that per day of strike? Is that total?
No, that was overall for a period. I think it was the Centre for Business, Economic and Business.
Okay.
In the independent one. And we've also seen the 1.5 billion figure that was given by UK Hospitality. But it was over the period, the 700 million was over the period from June going all the way into Christmas as well. Okay,
so we had the head of the rail companies before us last week who acknowledged the RMT's figure as to what the strikes have cost the government. So far. In fact, he went even further and said it was anywhere between 300 and 500 million. So we're talking of a cost to the government of over $1 billion so far. I mean, that would easily be enough money to have solved this dispute months ago, wouldn't it?
So if you look at it in that particular lens, then absolutely, it's actually ended up costing more than it would have than it would have been the case if it just settled in that part. But again, we have to look at the overall impact on the public sector pay deals that are going across. And we also have to look on the ability for the reforms that don't often get talked about, but they're absolutely vital as part of the package. It's the reforms that will actually pay for these pay deals and also make the railway more efficient in the long run as well. So it's not just an impact of pay for the workforce, it's also trying to make the workforce more efficient in terms of working practices and also safer. It's something I really feel passionately about. These reforms will actually take workforce off the tracks so that we can have technology checking for cracks and other defects rather than people on the line. So I feel.
And there you have it. So it's about reforms. Now, what sort of reforms? The RMT has said that you need staff to carry out these checks. You need staff on trains. One of the so-called reforms was driver-only trains, where you would only have a driver. You wouldn't have other staff to help, for example, disabled people or to help women who may be in danger on the carriages. You would only have the driver. And what could the driver do? Stop the train? And if there's some sort of ruckus or whatever, look, it's about doing what the companies want. The companies are for-profit organizations. Some of them are focusing mainly on their shareholders. And what the government are doing here is pushing through so-called reforms, but telling the public, it's about, we don't have any more money. Or it's about, if wages rise, it's going to affect inflation. Knowing that that's not what it's about changing working conditions, reducing staff, because this is about reducing staff. If you have fewer staff, then the company saves money. To hell with safety. We're talking about a Tory government that is about ripping up environmental protections, worker protections. They don't care about safety. If some accident happens later on, well, they'll be just finger pointing, like what happened with Grenfell. No one has been dragged over the coals for that. No one has been sent to prison over that. It'll just be a case of, well, it wasn't my fault, it wasn't my fault, it wasn't my fault. Somebody else is responsible. And the government will wash their hands of the situation. The RMT are talking about wages, they're talking about working conditions, but they're also talking about safety. And that's one of the reasons they're on strike. And here you have an admission from the government. It's basically ideology. We want to push through reforms. Now, reforms in the NHS, reforms in the public sector, in reforms when it comes to the postal service, everything. It's all about reducing worker protections firing people who complain, and putting in measures that benefit companies that maximize profit or maximize dividends for shareholders. We've seen it before, and we're going to see it again. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.